Welcome back to another Crafty Workshop Builds video. Today, I'm going to be talking about 10 common problems on a B7 Audi A4, so stay tuned. The PCV is located on the valve cover. Its function is to take the vapors from the crankcase and recirculate it back into the intake. The idea is to burn the vapors rather than venting it to the atmosphere and cause more pollution. The diaphragm is what often fails in this part. Rough idling is one of the symptoms when this part fails. Overall, this part is easy to replace, which requires removing the two connected hoses and the screws. This is where the purge valve is located, and on these 2.0 engines, they are notorious for failure. This purge valve regulates the fuel vapors that enter the intake manifold from the carbon canister. A failed purge valve might throw the P0456 check engine light fault code. Apart from that, you might not notice any difference in performance. However, you might have difficulty starting the engine after refueling. It usually takes a couple attempts to start the engine before it actually starts. Replacing the N80 purge valve is pretty simple, which requires removing the two clamps and the wire connector. Feel free to check out the video that I did on replacing the purge valve. I'll put the link in the description. The coolant flange is located at the back of the engine. This is also a part that's notorious for failing. Because this part is made of plastic, it will eventually break after years of use. After thousands of miles and many years of hot coolant contact, it's easy for these parts to degrade and become brittle. The rubber O-ring in the flange can also fail, causing it to leak coolant as well. This part is a challenge to replace due to its location. In order to replace this flange, you will need to remove the vacuum pump to make space to work. But even with the vacuum pump off, it's still a tight space to work. However, it is possible but challenging. The flange is held on by two bolts, the coolant hose and the coolant sensor. It's not a bad idea to replace this part as a preventative maintenance, because when this part fails, it will need to be replaced as soon as possible, if not immediately. The cam follower is located below the high pressure fuel pump. It uses the rotation of the camshaft lobe to power the high pressure fuel pump by riding directly on the camshaft lobe. And here are three cam followers that I removed from engines. The one that's mostly black is lightly worn. The one in the middle is moderately worn and needs to be replaced at that point. The one with the hole has failed, and the metal piece in the middle fell inside the cylinder head. Failure to routinely check and replace this part will cause it to become worn to the point of breaking. The cam follower failure might cause permanent damage to the camshaft, fuel pump, or both. In the event that this centerpiece falls into the cylinder head, it might cause damage to the moving parts. Feel free to check out the video that I did on replacing the cam follower. I'll put the link in the description. The oil filter housing is located below the intake manifold, and it has the oil cooler mounted onto it. This part is prone to having a gasket failure, which will cause an oil leak. It's also possible for the housing to crack, causing an oil leak as well, because it's made of plastic. If you notice a pool of oil sitting below the oil filter housing, chances are the gasket has failed. If you plan to take on this task, remember to replace the oil cooler gasket as well, because you will need to remove the oil cooler in the process. Carbon buildup is an ongoing issue with these cars, due to the fact that they are direct injection engines. Direct injection engines are designed to spray the fuel directly into the combustion chamber. Unlike port injection engines, the fuel being sprayed into the intake works as a cleaner, washing off any oil buildup that might occur. Since direct injection engines shoot fuel directly into the cylinder, there's nothing preventing gunk from building up onto the intake valves. Too much carbon buildup might prevent the intake valves from fully closing, resulting in a misfire. Too much carbon buildup can also reduce the airflow that leads to power reduction. It is recommended to routinely do a carbon cleaning to prevent this buildup. You also have the option of installing an oil catch can, which will reduce the carbon buildup as well. The valve cover gasket is designed to keep oil inside the cylinder head. This gasket is prone to failing. Over a period of time, the gasket becomes brittle and will crack due to heat and other elements. A leaky gasket will potentially cause problems. Whenever this gasket fails, oil will leak out. If the problem does not get fixed, the car runs the risk of running low on oil, which will cause major engine damages. Sometimes whenever oil leaks from the valve cover gasket, it leaks into the spark plug tubes, and this will cause a cylinder misfire. You can replace this gasket as a preventative method. The valve cover gasket is not hard to replace. Feel free to check out the video that I did on replacing the valve cover gasket. I will put the link in the description. It's pretty common to see these cars with AC problems, especially if the car has high mileage. The AC is a system, and if there's a fault with any single part of the system, that may cause the AC to stop working. Here are some possible reasons why the AC might stop working: low freon, a bad fan control module, a bad AC pressure switch, or a faulty compressor. If you find your AC to stop working, you could start ruling out these possible issues. Cylinder misfires are common in these cars and are often caused by a bad spark plug or a bad coil pack. Spark plugs and coil packs are easy to replace. Symptoms of a faulty or a bad spark plug includes rough idling, lack of acceleration, and reduced gas mileage. You may prevent this issue by replacing your spark plugs at the appropriate interval before they go bad. You can also keep a spare coil pack on hand just in case one fails. The diverter valve is located on the turbo and can be accessed from underneath the car on the passenger side. The diverter valve is designed to recirculate unused boost pressure back into the system after the throttle is released. This helps to prevent compressor surge. The diaphragm is prone to tearing. This is what a torn diaphragm looks like, and this is one perfectly intact. Some signs that you do have a torn diaphragm are loss of boost or the check engine code P0299. Otherwise, you can always remove the diverter valve and inspect the diaphragm for tears. It's held on by 3 Allen bolts, and if you need to replace the diverter valve, make sure to get the latest revision. Let me know in the comment section below if you've also experienced any of these problems in your car. And if you like this video, remember to hit that like button. And thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.